All right. Hello there, ladies, gentlemen, gamers, as well as everybody else. So, today we have another commentary going on. Today we're going to be talking about society and what I think about society. So, some things happen, as they usually do, every single day without fail. But some things have happened recently that have kind of got me upset, and plus, some of these commentaries that we're going to be doing, probably most of them, are going to be relating to or about me. I mean, hell, it's my channel, and I'm going to be talking about things that I want to, and most of what I want to talk about is me. Now, I always say this, and I'm going to say it again. I hope someone can gain some sort of semblance of something useful out of this. Maybe, if not anything else, it takes up some of your time if you need your time taken up, but hopefully this inspires some thought and this makes you question things. Maybe. I just hope it has some positive effect on the world because hopefully it gives me the catharsis and positive effect I need of wasting my time and not thinking the dark thoughts that flood my mind. But regardless, what are we talking about here? We're going to be talking about society and how it's gotten too focused on specialization. So, as I was coming home from the train today, again, aside from the dark thoughts that were troubling my mind, I thought about something for a second, right? I thought about as society has gone on, we've specialized more and more into things. We've become more like not just baseline, we know how to do a lot of things at a decent level, but we become very, very specialized. And this is what I kind of noticed. I've noticed this throughout life. I mean, I've heard it be done throughout history in recent times since the Industrial Revolution, and we'll definitely get to that as well. But I've definitely seen it in my regular day to day life as well. So, one instance of this I'll give is with rich people, right? In society, rich people usually know how to do a very specific thing, and the more specific and harder it gets, the more they get paid for it. But the problem is that specific thing takes up their whole life, and that's where I think the issue lies. It's not bad to get into a specific thing. However, I think everyone should have a baseline knowledge of almost certain things or a lot of things that are needed in society. And if you don't have these things, you kind of are worse for wear, in a way. So, what do I mean by this exactly? I mean that in school, with our lovely school system, they do not teach you enough. They do try and teach you a baseline, although, at least here in New York, and I think in the total of America, our education system is very much not good. It used to be better too, which is the sad part, but that could be its own whole other video on how the school system has really changed over time, as I see it. But pretty much, schools used to teach you how to drive. They used to teach you, sex ed, which when I was in middle school, they taught us a little bit about it, and in high school, they touched on it, but not really. They used to teach you how to do your taxes. They actually had classes that matter that taught you not everything you should know, in my opinion, but a lot of broad level stuff that is good to know. The problem now is they don't teach you next to fucking anything to really help you. They just teach you shit to get you into college, or at least give you the high school diploma, which realistically means nothing. But again, that's a different conversation. I could rant about school for a lot of videos, and maybe I will in future commentaries, who knows. However, going back to the matter at hand, specialization. What ends up happening is people learn whatever they learn from school, right? They go into college, they become specialized. The problem is they don't know a lot of other things, which I think it's important to know, or they'll learn them on their own if they have the drive for that. But a lot of people, unless they're forced to do stuff, won't really do it or will either be too busy. It takes a certain caliber of person where they need to be able to not only have enough on their plate or a lot on their plate and then want more to be able to learn what I'm saying now, but it's basically to go past your specialization. And I think overall, getting too much into specialization, getting too niche, which is what I think a lot of society has become, is becoming bad for us. So this was all prompted, like I said, when I was on the way home from my job trying to sleep on the subway because I get 4 hours of sleep a night. And I fall asleep at work and I hate it. So basically I was thinking, imagine if most of us learned how to eat and budget correctly, right? So barring the horrible economy we're in, barring, the really bad prices we have right now and the whole economic state and turmoil of America and the world, imagine if we were taught how to eat. Now again, this might be biased, and I'll go into more about why it could be biased, but imagine about how many things people have to worry about, right? When you have a full-time job, And even if you don't, I still think there are a lot of things you have to worry about, especially nowadays. But when you have a full-time job, the full-time job for me, and I'm pretty lucky in my situation, I would consider. In other ways, I'm not. But my job takes about 12 hours out of my day. From the time I wake up to me leaving, to me coming back, once I am back home, it's about 12 hours until I'm really like, okay, like I'm out, I'm done with whatever I had to do all outside, which is the job, and then I'm back in. That's 12 hours. At that point, that realistically leaves 4 hours for myself, and once I get home, I have to do certain chores, certain errands, cooking, sometimes cleaning, even though I don't really clean that much. But there's other things to do, right? So my time is even further limited. At that point, I was really wondering, like, damn, what am I going to eat? Because preparing food sometimes, obviously, if you're good at it, this could be subverted a little bit, but I think a major thing is I don't want to spend all this time preparing some of the foods I want to eat, which is like chicken cutlet, french fries, steak, pasta. Pasta is the easiest thing to make, but even then, that takes like a good 30 minutes, right? And any time I can save is more time for me, which is what I like. So, what people opt to do, right? I think people already have barely any time to even cook food, let alone cook actual good food. They have time to make instant ramen, they have time to make pasta. I mean, hell, steak is even pretty easy if you don't season it, if you don't prepare anything too fancy, right? They barely have time to make any really good foods. And I feel like a big factor is that not only because one, they don't have time, but two, because they don't know. And society has worked around this in a big way. And I'm not saying necessarily this is bad, but it's gotten to be bad, or I see it kind of getting bad in a way. But this has a lot of other factors along with it, which I'll talk about soon. There's a lot of stuff we have to talk about in this one. So, one of the major things that society has worked around in my eye is food, right? We keep splitting up the division of labor. This goes back, like I said before, to the Industrial Revolution. When Mr. Ford, in all his great glory, introduced the assembly line, we had, instead of one person building the whole car, we had a bunch of different people working on different parts of building the car. It became devised. However, that increased productivity, but it led overall to the workers knowing less. If I only know how to put on the wheel to the steering wheel, and maybe, to the car wheels, I don't know how to put the engine in, I don't know what makes up the engine. Overall, I know less as a worker. Workers before that, I believe, knew more because they had to, because the assembly line hadn't been invented yet, at least to my knowledge. So because of this, because of the division of labor, labor became a lot more productive, but a lot less productive in terms of how much the worker knows or how important the worker is. Because of the assembly line, essentially what ended up happening was we became replaceable, right? Because we got devised. We got the division of labor. And as time has gone on, it became even more so. Remember back in the day, well, not really remember because this is really back in the day, but historically speaking, from what I can recall, from what I learned in school, back in the day, men and women, or, husbands and wives, or men and women, I don't want to get canceled here, have basically known more, or were known how to do more, right? Because obviously the internet wasn't there, but in general, there was less of a division of labor. When something broke, it was on you to fix it. Even with the internet, there was a time where it was still on you to fix it. You could use the internet to find out how, but it would be on you. Nowadays, the way things are made, which this goes into another topic of, right to repair, Louis Rossmann, even that has begun to suffer from the division of labor. Now, a lot of people can't just fix their own thing. They have to send it to someone who specifically only has learned to repair that thing, and because things are not modular anymore, they're proprietary. Now only you can repair that thing and not really know how to transfer that to somewhere else. But that's, again, another conversation. So, because of the division of labor, everything is becoming someone else's job, and it's not something you can know how to do, right? Now, obviously, there's the question, or not the question, there's the obvious point of convenience here, right? The point of convenience, like I said before, comes with food. Okay, I just came home, I have 4 hours left of my day if I want to get 8 hours of sleep, which, let's be realistic, it's America, no one does that. Unless you're rich, or privileged, or don't have mental problems. But yeah, I want to try and get 8 hours of sleep. I have 4 hours left. I got to do chores on top of that, so I realistically am going to have like 2 to 3 hours of my personal time if I'm lucky, and I want to maximize that as much as possible. So instead of making food, let me order food out, right? Now, I'm not saying what I'm going to present is necessarily a solution to having more time, but it will lead to some solutions because there's obvious problems now that comes with this. Like I said before, the most obvious issue that comes with the division of labor is it's the loss of skills for the worker. The worker becomes more replaceable or they become more, in a sense, stupider. See, it's weird, right? Because once you get individualized, once you split up the labor like that, you're very niche at a certain thing, which might be important, but you just don't know as much as you would have, which you would have known more because you had to do more, if that makes sense. But the other problem, specifically with the food example I'm bringing up, which is the main example, is instead of teaching basically people how to cook and buy things correctly and buy the correct ingredients and just have general like good food tastes, which I think most of Americans don't really know how to cook. I mean, it's the meme with my generation. Girls just know how to buy McDonald's and eat hot chip, like woohoo, right? But in general, instead of learning fucking bullshit in school that we learn now, well, I'm not going to say it because then I might offend someone. But learning a lot of nonsense that we do in school that we don't ever use for the rest of our life, we can instead learn like a fucking cooking course or at least a basic how to live and cook your own meals course that are good and are healthy. That's the biggest part. And we live in America, so we're fat fucks over here, right? So the problem that's occurred is because the division of labor has begun to, well, not begun, but it's in food now because now you can get anything delivered to your house, not only from Amazon, but from Uber. People just stopped, okay, instead of cooking because I don't know how / I don't have the time. The time is its own argument. The don't know how one is kind of the one I'm focusing on here. Because I feel like, at least for me, this is where my biases come in. A lot of people from my group, and me included, have very, very limited palates. So not only do we not know how to cook, we don't know how to cook much even if we do, which is where I'm at. So what do we opt for? We opt for eating out. Or you opt for what I do, which is just eat the same shit, which is not good, and then eat junk food. But regardless, right? What this ends out doing is not only do we order food that's takeout, which is generally unhealthy, but it's also not cost effective. It's cost ineffective. So this is, bad on multiple fronts at this point. This might be biased though, because again, first, my location, I live in New York. New York is a shithole. It's not like the rest of the world. It's really bad. Second of all, this is from my own experiences, like I said, from what I've seen, from my friends, and again, you have to take into location. At the end of the day, everything I say is biased towards me, so I feel even weird saying this, but I feel like it is important to say. I could be wrong with this, but this is just how I see it, which is going to result in basically all of my videos being that way. But again, I feel important to say it. So, basically, what I'm saying here is the division and specialization of labor, while it is good in terms of production, I don't think it's good overall because it leads to people just becoming more dependent and reliant on all these other things because they also have to become specialized in one thing, which leads them to ignore other things. For instance, I work with a lot of lawyers. A lot of these lawyers are extremely smart people, right? They're extremely smart to even become lawyers, but they don't know a lick or two about a fucking computer, which is hilarious to me, right? They're very computer illiterate. Not because I don't think they can't learn, but number one, because they don't have the time. Number two, they didn't really learn about it in their time because they're all old, because they're lawyers. Becoming a lawyer takes a long time. But in general, these are not stupid people where they're incapable of learning. They're just too busy to learn, and they're too specialized. They're too specialized in this one field to where they might seem really smart, and they are. I'm not taking intelligence away from them. But the problem is, they seem stupid when it comes to other things. For instance, if you were to see me, right, a failed streamer, if you were to take me and put me in the real world, barring all of the issues I think I have, just looking at me, right, you wouldn't really think much of me. I'm short, I'm white, I'm a little ugly, okay, it is what it is. And you would think, okay, from his job and stuff and from, how he operates, he's just whatever. But if you see me on games, you'll think I'm a fucking genius because I'm specialized in that. But when you become specialized in one thing, you lose your value in a lot of other things because you either, again, A, don't have time, or B, haven't been taught it or learned it. And again, a thing I've seen biasedly but personally is unless you're taught it from an early age or unless you're really of a certain caliber, you do not really learn it later on. And I think that is not only a failing of ourselves, but, I can't blame people too much. I can, but I won't. Well, I half will. But I also think it's a big failing of society. I think society needs a major restructuring, and we need to give people and teach people important skills, especially during earlier developmental years, to set them up for success. Too many times, I think New Yorkers spend on just, eating out fast food because they don't know how to cook for themselves. Whether that's also because of the other situation I said where, everything's fucked, so we have to spend as much time as we have working 5 days of the fucking week, and all of our time is work, work, work because we need money because the economy's shit. But barring the situation we're in, which I do think matters, but for this we can't really do much about it, or at least that's not the conversation here. I think at the end of the day, specialization is good and it's bad, and I've kind of presented why. Tell me what you think. Tell me your opinions. If there's anything critically you want me to think about or anything you want me to just talk about opinion-wise, I'm all ears. I stream mostly every day at Twitch TV/Tecnics channel. Hop on there if you want to just chill and hang out with me. I'm probably going to go do that right after this. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Eee!